Over the years, there has been thousands of Mario plushes that have been released. But out of these thousands of plushes, the All-Star set by Sine is by far the most popular and recognizable of the Mario plushes. But today we're not going to be looking at a new set. Today we're actually going to be looking at a set that's over 30 years old. So with that said, welcome to a look at the Banpresto Super Mario World 1992 plush set. Now before we get into the individual plushes themselves, there actually is two parts of this set. The 1992 version, which we will be looking at today, is the second part of this set. The first part of the set was released in 1991, and I made a video about that set a few days ago, so go watch that after this video. So with that said, let's get to the individual plushes in this set, starting with Cape Mario. Now this is the only plush in this set that I actually own. Now this is a really nice plush, and it has Mario facing straight up in a flying position. His facial features are basically all the same from the 1991 version of Mario, with his eyes being plastic and all the other details being iron-on. His body is also the same as the original 1991 version of Mario, but just with a cape on it. His cape is just like a thin piece of cloth. And since there's only a thin piece of cloth, I have seen a lot of these Mario plushes that have damaged capes. But overall, this plush is pretty good. Now for the rarity of this plush is probably one of the most common in the whole set. You could basically find it at all times on eBay and Mercari. Around normal price would probably be between $20 and $30, mattering on the condition of the plush. Now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the Luigi in this set. Now this Luigi plush is actually the second ever Luigi plush to ever be released. And for that reason alone, it's already a pretty good plush. Now this Luigi plush was released in 1992, and the first ever Luigi plush released by Acme was actually in 1988, so this is the second ever Luigi plush released 4 years after the first one. And this one's kind of the first real Luigi plush, because the Acme one's kind of, ugly looking. Now Banpresto did a pretty good job making his face. His eyes are made out of the same plastic material as Mario's, and his mustache, mouth, and eyebrows are all iron-ons. His hat is also the exact same as Mario's, but with just a different color and a different emblem. And for the rest of his body, it's basically just the 1991 Banpresto Mario plush, but just altered a little bit to be more fit for Luigi. It seems that Banpresto took their 1991 Mario and just kind of altered it a lot to make it look like Luigi. Now for this plush being the second ever Luigi plush to ever exist, is a pretty good plush. They could have done some things better, but for its time it's pretty good. For the rarity, you could almost always find it on eBay and Mercari, and I would recommend paying $20 to $30 mattering on the condition of it, because that's a good price for it. Now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the Paratroopa. Now at first this might just look like a Koopa Troopa, but it's actually a Paratroopa because it has wings on the back of it. So yes, this is the first ever Paratroopa plush to ever be made. And if it was a normal Koopa Troopa, it still would have been the first ever plush of a Koopa Troopa. Now interestingly, the Koopa Troopa head is the same as the 1991's Yoshi's head. It's the same shape but with altered details to fit the Koopa Troopa. His eyes are plastic just like every other plush in this set, and his nose is made out of the same material that Yoshi's nose is in the 1991 set. On his body, he has orange lines to represent his shell. On the back of his shell, they just ironed on black to make the pattern for the shell to make it look like a shell actually. Then after that, they just added wings to the plush to fully complete the plush and make it a Paratroopa. Now overall, this is a pretty good plush, especially because it's the first ever resemblance of a Koopa. For the rarity, just like the Cape Mario and the Luigi plush, you could find them on eBay and Mercari most of the time. The average price he sells for is between $15 and $30, mattering on the condition of him. Now let's move on to the next plush in this set, which is the Mega Mole. Now this was the first and last Mega Mole plush that was ever made. Yeah, they never made another Mega Mole plush, which is, makes sense because it's kind of an obscure character. This character was only used in one game, which was Super Mario World. And all he is in the game is just a bigger version of the Monty Mole. Now this plush is pretty well detailed. Now his glasses, his cheeks, and the yellow areas on his arms and legs are all felt, which means that they sometimes do fall off. Now his nose is just a little cotton ball glued onto him, so yes, it does fall off a lot. And his hair is just little pieces of material that are glued onto his head, and his whiskers are only this little material that could fall off really easily. So overall, this plush is actually really rare to have in really good condition, because basically every part of this plush is really easy to break. But yeah, if you take care of it and keep it in good condition, it's a really good plush. Now for the rarity, it is actually a little more rare than the others that we've looked at in this set. I would recommend looking on eBay for him, and you could probably purchase him between $40 and $50 mattering on the condition of it. Now let's move on to the final plush in this set, which is the rarest and the most expensive in the entire set, which is Bowser. Now this was the first ever Bowser plush ever made, which is pretty cool in my opinion. Now for his details, his eyebrows and teeth are just pieces of felt glued on, and his nose is the same material as the Koopa's and Yoshi's nose. His cuffs on his wrists are also prone to falling off because they're really delicate. They're just separate pieces of felt glued onto him, so I have seen them falling off multiple times. Now surprisingly, his eyes aren't actually made out of plastic, they're just black pieces of felt put onto a white area. But the back of this plush makes this plush super delicate. Now his shell is this terrible material that can break really easily. So yeah, basically the back of him is made out of this plastic material that chips really easily. It's just kind of like off-brand plastic. And because of this detail, Banpresto's Bowser plush has become extremely rare and good condition. It's very common to see his back all cracked up, and it's very rare to see a mint condition one. Now if you do want this plush though, I would recommend looking on eBay, but he will sell between $60 to $100 mattering if it's in mint condition or bad condition. So yeah, my favorite plush in this set is the Mega Mole, but what is yours? Comment that down below, and make sure to like and subscribe, and have a great day.